Thank you. Shalom, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us this Tuesday evening for our next class in Seriously Happy. I apologize for being a few minutes late. Thank you for your patience, and Bezrat Hashem, we'll jump right into things. This subject of Seriously Happy, one may think that during the 9 days, especially as we approach in the next half hour, will be Erev Tisha B'Av, that it will already be the eve of Tisha B'Av. What is the subject of being happy or seriously happy? Doesn't seem exactly to be the right subject. And the explanation is that every single person needs to be happy at every single moment. Mitzvah gedola liot besimcha tamid. It's always a mitzvah to be happy. As the Hasidic interpretation into the phrase, Kashem shemenichnas av mema'atin besimcha, kach mishenichnas adar marbim besimcha. The Talmud says that just like that when the month of Av comes in, we diminish in happiness, so too when the month of Adar comes in, we increase in happiness. So what does it mean that in the month of Av we decrease in happiness? Mishenechnas Av, this is the Hasidic interpretation. When Av comes in, mema'atin, we decrease. In what? In everything negative. How do we decrease in everything negative? Besimcha, through joy. In other words, through having joy, even in these days of the month of Av, even just as we approach the month of Av, even as we approach the month of Av, we still need to have simcha. Now, obviously, we need to have simcha within a measure, not just like Purim. There are halachot. There are basic things which we are not allowed to do. But assuming that we are within the framework of what we should be doing, and the framework of how we're allowed to act, then that amount of simcha we're allowed to have. In the last couple of classes for the course Seriously Happy, especially the last one, we talked about specifically how it's possible for someone to be happy for something which may be a negative thing. And the point is that we talked about the idea of lekibuli besimcha, to be able to accept things besimcha. In other words, even if we understand that what Hashem has given is perhaps something which is not positive, nevertheless we have to accept it besimcha. And then we learned about two different types of goodness. One type of goodness is revealed good. Another type of goodness is concealed good. Everything that comes from Hashem, since Hashem is the epitome of good, therefore, everything Hashem does is good. That's simple logic. If everything that one does is good, and that person does something, so obviously they're doing good. They can't do anything besides for that. The thing is that the hidden good sometimes can be higher than the revealed good. Because it's so high, it's harder, it might be harder for the person to realize it. So at least the knowledge of that will hopefully make a person understand that it is good. The question that we're going to ask today is that how do you expect a person to be besimcha, to be happy, when they have something in their life which logically, emotionally brings them the exact opposite of happiness? Even if you want to tell me and explain to me that a person is experiencing something which is good on a deeper level, but how do you expect that? And let's say a person understands it, but how do you expect a person to sing and dance because of it? Just because they understand it? How? You see, happiness is a feeling. Either you feel happy or you don't feel happy. Either a person is sad or is not sad. If something happens to a person, God forbid, which is not positive, how do you expect them to feel happy? How do you expect that the knowledge in their mind that they are quote unquote really experiencing something good should have such an impact on them as if it really as if they're really happy and they feel a deep feeling in their heart of happiness. For example, when there's a bracha of shechianu, when does a person make a bracha of shechianu for something new? So it says in Shulchan Aruch, when you have simchat halev, when you have the happy heart. So for example, when there's a new chag, a new holiday, or something really big where a person has a very, very nice garment, something very special, out of the norm, that makes a person really, really besimcha. So that makes a person besimcha because the person's heart really is joyous. But you don't make a bracha if someone else feels besimcha and you don't feel besimcha. How about hatov v'hametiv? It's a similar bracha to shechianu, but it's a bracha when several people have something good. If several people bought something good, or the strange halacha, which is 100% true, of course, that if a person's parent passes away, God forbid, and they have an inheritance, so they'll say Baruch Ta Hashem, the first part of the bracha, Dayan Ha'emet, the true judge, and then they'll say Shechianu. They say they're thanking Hashem for good because the fact is they have something good. Or if there are several siblings, and they'll say instead of Shechianu, Hatov v'Hametiv, someone who is good and does good for others, plural. So how is it possible for someone to bring themselves actually to be happy? After all, if someone has something bad happen to them, God forbid, especially if it's really terrible, then they say the bracha Dayan Ha'emet. Even if we hear, even if one hears that someone else passed away, then one says Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. If they themselves are the close relative, they say the full bracha with Hashem's name, Dayan Ha'emet. So on one hand, we're asking the person to say Dayan Ha'emet because it was not a very positive thing that happened. Obviously, someone passed away. On the other hand, we're asking the person to feel a feeling of happiness, and so the Alter Rebbe explains over here in the next part of Perek Chavav of chapter 26. By the way, we're inching towards the end of chapter 26, and then we'll start chapter 27, Bezrat Hashem. But what the Alter Rebbe explains over here is that, as we explained, that we're going to explain how it is possible for someone to be truly, deeply happy, even when something negative transpires. We talked earlier that the hidden good is higher and deeper even than the revealed good. What does that mean? That in the hidden good, a person has the zechut to be even closer to Hashem than if they have revealed good. This is definitely a little bit hard to understand, but the concept still remains the truth. The truth is the truth. That if it's deeper, if it's a higher level of good, then that's a reason to be happy. Because a person now is even closer to Hashem. Here's an example. The example is of a teacher and a student. The student would rather that the teacher would speak to him in words and terminologies that he understands. But if one as a student wants to accept new concepts and higher, deeper concepts than what he's had until now, then he has to have on the level of the teacher. In a language, in a quote-unquote language, and it might be hard for him to understand. But because he wants to be elevated, even if it might be higher than him, so to speak, he'd rather learn that because he wants to learn from this teacher. Here's an example. There was once a chassid that wrote a letter to the Rebbe that he had issues that bothered him. So the Rebbe answered him a letter it's called Klali Prati, general individual. What does that mean? That the Rebbe used to give out about 5 times a year, more or less, a michtav klali, a general letter, and it started off with the words l'chol echad ve'achat mi dat chasidei Chabad. Okay, I'm glad everyone is still here. It's written to every single person from Chabad. Could even be the Rebbe said to every single Jew, B'Shem Yisrael Yechona. And like before Pesach, before Rosh Hashanah, before the big times of the year, also Yutet Kislev. And so sometimes the Rebbe would send this quote-unquote Michtav Klali, this general letter, and he would write a couple of personal words on it. You have to understand that in the beginning, in the first 3 decades of the Rebbe's leadership, there was more time than after 1980. People would come in and experience a personal yichidut, a personal audience of the Rebbe, the great zechut, the great honor of being with the Rebbe one-on-one. But then there were so many Hasidim, it simply wasn't possible. And so the Rebbe would sometimes write a personal letter, but sometimes take a quote-unquote general letter and make it individual. So this specific Chassid asked, he said that, I'm sure it was respectfully, he said that he was disappointed. He was hoping that he would get a personal letter, which would discuss his personal issues. And over here, the Rebbe sent him a quote-unquote general letter, which was also had his name on it. There also made a couple of personal words. So the Rebbe answered him, I thought that you wanted to connect to my personal world, to elevate yourself to my world. And now I see that you want me to come down to your world and to talk about the individual things which bother you. Now that's okay. In other words, the Rebbe is saying it's okay. You want me to come to your world? That's fine. But I thought that you wanted to be elevated to my world. In other words, by the Rebbe is saying that by me sending you this general letter, I am answering you for your problems. You might not see it, you might not recognize it, but you are receiving an answer. But the objective is supposed to be that when we become, now we're moving back to the Tanya. The objective is supposed to be that when we come close to Hashem, the closer we come to Hashem, it should make us happy. Unfortunately, sometimes it seems to be in a revealed way. It seems to come in a package of difficulty and pain and suffering, God forbid. So on the other hand, at the same time, when a person feels that it's bad, it might be a reason to be sad. Therefore, the Torah expects of us to uplift ourselves out of ourselves. Because we love Hashem so much, we should be happy with the hidden good. Because if we know that by Hashem it's good, true that for the individual there is suffering, unfortunately, God forbid, But the most important thing is the zechut, the merit, that the person is coming close to Hashem. An example for this is of the famous story with Aaron HaKohen and Aaron's two sons, right in the beginning. We have in Chumash Vayikra, in the portion of Shemini, where the two sons of Aaron could not control themselves, and they went into the Holy of Holies, and they passed away, unfortunately. And Moshe said to Aaron that he thought that it would be Moshe and Aaron that would become super close to Hashem because of the level that they were on. And it seems to be that even Nadav and Avihu, the two sons of Aaron, were even holier than Moshe and Aaron himself. This was supposed to be some level of comfort from Moshe to Aaron, that unfortunately his two older sons passed away. So for someone that their entire subject, entire being is to be close to Hashem, and it doesn't bother them at all what happens in the world, for sure a person will feel only simcha. In other words, it's not just a logical explanation that you can explain to the person, that the person will realize that it's quote unquote good. But the more a person is in the realm of Hashem, so to speak, to lift themselves up at least a little bit above the ground, a little bit above the way nature looks at the world. So if you put on your lenses that are Hashem's lenses, so to speak, then a person should be able to be besimcha. It should ultimately bring a person to true joy, to deep joy in the person's heart. But a regular person that leads their lives in this world, it could be difficult. So it's difficult to ask from every person that they should be besimcha. So therefore, what the Alter Rebbe adds, that there's an additional reason why to be besimcha. Even if it's hard for a person, even if a person realizes that it's not so easy to be happy, because at the end of the day, the person feels that they're going through a difficulty, and unfortunately pain and suffering. The Alter Rebbe says there's an additional reason to help a regular person become happy. Because simcha is mamtik the dinim. Simcha, joy, sweetens the judgment. And it reveals the good within the bad. Which that means to say that it's possible that the good will remain hidden, God forbid. But what's known is that deep down there is good. In a revealed way, they will see only the bad, God forbid. But everyone prays that there should be only revealed good and not concealed good. But when a person experiences something bad, and nevertheless they're happy, simcha has a strong power, a strong energy, to be able to sweeten the judgment and to reveal that it should be good literally, in order to be able to see the good within everything. As we know, we're going to see in a minute that the Alter Rebbe says regarding Mashiach's coming, that whoever is happy with their suffering, God forbid, will merit that the good, when Mashiach comes, that the good, the hidden good, will be revealed when Mashiach comes. In another place, the Alter Rebbe explains that this is good also, this also applies to the more immediate future. That when a person sees something wrong, something bad, and treats it like something good, like it is in its source, through that, he merits, hopefully, to see even sooner the good within the bad. The stories that we talked about in the last couple of classes of Rabbi Akiva, believing and being happy within the bad, that it really is good, and ultimately seeing the good. Nachum Ish Gamzu also saw the good soon thereafter, are great examples where they refused to accept that it's really bad. They knew that it's good. And even if in the beginning they didn't realize, especially Rabbi Akiva, did not realize how it's good, but the fact itself that he had this positive approach, and he was besimcha, and he thanked Hashem, that was a good enough reason that Hashem gave him the opportunity to be able to see the good within the suffering that he went through. Here's an example for the fact that when a person believes and believes that it's good, that it's deep, really good, and thanks Hashem and is happy because of it, then that ultimately brings him to good. The example is a few parshas ago we read about the snake of copper, which brought healing, and it was healing in such a way that until today becomes the symbol of medicine. So it doesn't seem to make sense, because they had snakes that were killing the people. How could it be that the snake itself is going to be that which is going to bring the remedy? The answer is that in the source, everything is good. When they looked up, what were they? What were they doing? They were looking upwards towards the shoresh, towards the source of the snakes. So the snake, just like everything in its source is good, all of a sudden they were revealing deep down within the source of the snake to be able to see the good, and therefore that itself brought the good. The fact itself that they had the positive approach, looking upward. So let's see. In the next paragraph, the Alter Rebbe is going to explain this idea. How can a person be happy when they have suffering? God forbid. That's because of the closeness to Hashem. So if you have your original Tanya with you, you might remember that there were two portions to the second chapter, the 26th chapter. And now we're going to read the third part. Bikrovai Ekadesh. V'lachein Amar Rabbeinu Zal, and therefore our sages told us of blessed memory, Ki asmechim b'yisurim, that those that are happy with their suffering, God forbid, Aleihem HaKatuv Omer, for them the Torah says, Shescharam yeh, what will the sachar be? What will the reward be? Ohavav ketzet Hashemesh b'gvurato, and his beloved, Hashem's beloved ones, are like when the sun comes out in its strength. Ki hasimcha hi me'ahavato, because the simcha is from his love. Kirvat Hashem, the closeness of Hashem, yoter mikol chayei ha'olam hazeh, more than all of the life of this world. Kedichtiv, as it says in the verse, Kitov chastacha mechayim, for your kindness is better than life. The Gomer, the Kirvat Hashem hi biyeter seet, closeness to Hashem is even stronger. Umayla, on a greater level, le'en ketz, to no end. Ba'alma dit kasya, with a world that has been covered up. Kisham chavyonu zo, because that is where the strength of Hashem is. V'yoshev b'seter alyon, and Hashem, quote unquote, sits in the higher hidden places. V'alkein, if a person will act this way with a simcha, zocheh, he will merit litzet Hashemesh b'gvurato. The person will merit to the fulfillment of the verse, to the sun coming out in its strength. In other words, when Mashiach comes, le'atid lavo, in the world to come, when Mashiach comes, shehi yitziat chama minar tikah. That is the time when the sun will come out of its holder. Shehi mechusabo ba'olam hazeh, for it is hidden within it, in this world. V'le'atid, and when Mashiach comes, titgale mikisuya, it will be revealed from its covering, the hainu, which means she'az yitgale alma dit kasya, then there will the hidden worlds will be revealed, as we've learned other times, that there are two types of worlds above in the Kabbalah. There are the revealed worlds and there are the concealed worlds. And the concealed worlds means that it's simply concealed. It's not, we cannot appreciate it. That's why it's called concealed. It's concealed for us. But then when Mashiach comes, that which is concealed will be revealed. The Almodid Kasya will become Almodid Galya. The Yizrach v'ya'ir begili rav v'atzum, and it will shine brightly and strongly l'chol achosimbo, to all of those that trust in Hashem, ba'olam hazeh, in this world, u'mistofefim b'tzilo, and gather together in His shadow, tzel hachachma, the shadow of wisdom, shehu b'chinat tzel v'lo ora v'tova niret, which sometimes is the level of a shadow, which the shadow is obviously not lit up and doesn't seem good. A shadow is only something dark and covered over. V'day l'mevin, and it's enough for one who understands. So if someone, Bezrat Hashem, in a temporary position and time that a person is not experiencing something good, and they're happy, hopefully this simcha, this happiness will bring a person to the state where they'll be able to see and understand and appreciate the quote-unquote hidden good within them. One second. So here's another story about a dancing, because we expect a person to be so happy that they're going out of themselves and they start to dance. One time, there was unfortunately a fire in the house of the Chassid Rabbi Shmuel Munkes. Rabbi Shmuel Munkes was one of the greatest Chassidim of the Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Shneur Zalman, the author of the Tanya. And Rabbi Shmuel Munkes was also a very funny Chassid. But regardless of the joker that he was a very at a very great level. And unfortunately, the fire burnt everything he had to the ground. His friends heard of his tragedy. They were sure that they're going to come and see him depressed, and they came to comfort him. As they came closer to the place, they heard something strange. A Hasidic song in the air. As they got closer, they were shocked to see that the Chassid, the owner of the house, is dancing right near his house, his former house, and he was singing a song. One of the brachas that we say in the morning is Shelo Asani Goy, that Hashem, that we're not Gentiles and we are Baruch Hashem Jewish. So now his friends thought he totally fell off his rocker. We feel so bad for him. What's he singing and dancing for? They asked him, our dear friend, why are you dancing? Is everything okay? So Rabbi Shmuel answered, it's very simple. He said, when I saw that the house is burnt, I thought to myself that if I was not Jewish, also my God would have been burnt within this house. Because the Goyim have within their house all kinds of idols. So I started to sing, Baruch Hashem, that I'm not a Goy. Baruch Hashem, my God is not made from wood and stone. And he is not burnt. He is live, and nothing in the world can get rid of him. Baruch Hashem that he's with us. What is a deep message that we have from this powerful story? In addition to the simple meaning, every person has their own quote-unquote idol. This thing which is most important to them in life. For one person, it's the car. Another person is his food. Another person is their money. And a fourth person is their social stance amongst their friends. But all of the above, all of these different types of idols, so to speak, can be gone in one day. God forbid, the car or the food or the money or even the social stance or anything else. If it's an idol, quote unquote, then it can put a person into depression. But because we are Baruch Hashem Jewish, and the physical life is not an idol, We have something much, much deeper. That is Hashem Himself, which is, thank God, not made from wood and stone. So the simcha that we have comes from the nefesh, comes from the soul, from the Torah and mitzvahs, the Torah that we learn and the mitzvahs that we do, or that we observe. Therefore, even the most difficult physical life, the central thing of our lives is complete and alive. The Torah and mitzvahs. No one can take away from us the meaning in life, and the things which are truly important. That is what life is all about, and this can hopefully give a person simcha and joy also while they're suffering. Hopefully, that will bring them out of the suffering and lift them up to a higher level where they see the good, they can feel the good, and the suffering stops. But in the few moments that a person feels the suffering, it can certainly help. Okay, I think we're going to stop over here tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. Tomorrow evening at 8:15, almost exactly in 24 hours, you'll daven Marav at home on the onset of Tisha B'Av, and then 8:30, please join us right here on Zoom and Facebook for Echa and a little bit of Kinot, and 9 o'clock for a special new documentary called My Whole Broken Heart. Thank you for joining us. All the best. Bezrat Hashem, tomorrow morning, 9:30. Please join us for a special class in honor of Erev Tisha B'Av. Be well.